Okay guys, so I have another unboxing for you today. This one is of the Sahara P35. This is the one with the 4 fans. RGB Tempered Glass. It looks very nice, and I'd like to thank my friend Lee for having this case ordered to my house and waking me up at 9 o'clock in the morning. Free video though, so it's okay. So getting straight into the box. It's already off to a good start. Comes with soft cell foam. I'm going to move that because otherwise that cat will get into it and suffocate itself. That's not a good thing to happen on camera. Right. So far, off to a good start. Big tempered glass side panel. I've heard a lot of people giving out about the fact that it doesn't necessarily fit properly. I actually kind of like the way it fits on. I don't know why. To me, for some reason, it looks nice. We have a tempered glass front panel as well. That is just part of the actual top panel. As you saw, the right hand side is metal, but it doesn't matter. And having tempered glass on both sides is kind of annoying because when you like to build systems, cable management is pretty important. Hair on the lens.
It's really zoomed in as well. There's a red change there.
Which one is it? No. That's normal.
It's class.
Alright, so I can already see the 3 fans in the front, and they're all pretty close together, which means you can fit a 360 radiator in the front of this, which is good. For the 240 in the top, and I believe you can fit a 120 in the rear. You can definitely fit a 120 in the rear, and you can move that rear fan up and down a good bit if you're using an air cooler. If you want the air to go straight out, there's a lot of settings, so you can set it to be perfectly in line with your cooler, which is always a plus. Front I/O we have, if you want to get a little bit closer here, front I/O we have a power button, a reset button, 2 USB 2, 1 USB 3, and an LED button, as well as our headphone and microphone jacks with our power and hard drive activity lights. Probably won't connect up the power one because why would you need a tiny pinhole LED? A hard drive activity light is kind of important though. I hope you can pick up that audio in the background, the cat leaping around the room. We also have a magnetic dust filter on the top and a random stamp out on this bit for some odd reason. That's really it for the outside of the case. There's nothing really else to say other than the fact that it's quite sleek. It stands on these kind of tall metal feet, which is good because that means you're not going to get a lot of dust sucked in, and it's not too low to the floor or anything. But we do have a bit of foam that's stuck under here. If I can get it. There we go. I saw you like that one. No, this one really doesn't want to come up. No.
So bad.
Right. So I reckon we should get into this case. That's a really heavy tempered glass side panel too. That's pretty thick. That's what, about 4 mil? 3 mil, 4 mil? That's good. It's definitely quality anyway. So I'm probably just going to sit down for this because at least it'll be a little bit easier to show off what's inside. So you have your rear fan here, and I do like these fans because they have the dome here. Most fans, I'll show you this one. Most fans just come with a flat surface, so when air is coming towards them, a lot of the turbulence noise, unless you have a case like this that the air has to come in and then go at a right angle, that's great and all the turbulence. But a lot of the turbulence here is when air comes towards this fan, some of it can get trapped in here. When it hits, it's going to have to spread out, so you're going to get the sound of that mixing air here. This has a dome, so the air will quite literally come at it and just bounce off. It's aerodynamics in a computer case, no other way to explain it. I quite like that. It's very clear to me that they were trying to, or they did, use the frame off another case, but I guess if you can find one to fit, you could actually use a bay reservoir up there. If you have it like in line with the front, front of this bit, not the tempered glass bit, you could probably fit a bay reservoir in there, which would look pretty nice from the inside or from the outside of the case, and would free up some room here. You know, you see it here, although that would be a bit ugly looking through the side panel. We have the 3 fans in the front. I swear to God, it's when I'm trying to do something important that you fucking goes mad too. And then we have what looks like 3 mounting positions for fans on the power supply or on the power supply shroud, which I say this about every case that has that. But why? Because everything under here is basically passively cooled. Hard drives passively cooled. They just let out their heat and they don't build up much heat anyway. And a power supply gets its air to cool itself, even though it doesn't get that hot from the bottom. So there's literally no need for that unless you want to throw a radiator on there. But you're not going to get much air in there anyway, so you're kind of not going to be doing yourself a favour. Although you are going to get dissipation over a 360mm radiator anyway. Anyway, moving on to the rest of the inside of this case. You can see we do have rubber grommets, but they are incredibly loose, which means I guarantee when I try to put the 24 pin through this, it's going to take that off its mount. Because they're very, very loose and very, very soft. That's not very good. That's one point down for this case, although if you can manage to get them back on, it's going to look a lot better than no rubber grommets. Although even without them, as long as you're confident in your cable management skill, you shouldn't have a problem. Moving on to the rear, you see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm terrible at counting quickly. I'm dyslexic. Leave me alone. So we have 7 PCIe slots, meaning this is a mid-tower case. 8 or 9 means a full tower. This is mid-tower, takes a full ATX motherboard. You have your I/O shield area here. That's nothing special. It's the same as most cases, the way it's folded up around here. And then made in China, shock. This is what I'm talking about, how you can move your rear fan up and down. So there's multiple places you can put this fan, the way you can move it up, down, and fine tune it to whatever you want. That basically means, like, if you have something like a 212 Evo, like I have a 212 Evo in this system. I'm not sure, you might not be able to see it, there might be a reflection or whatever, but the rear fan is about 1/5 of a fan height too high, and I can't actually bring it low enough for the air to come straight out. There's going to be that little bit down the bottom that's always going to get washed out, but it'll just get exhausted at the back manually anyway, or automatically. Manually you put the fan automatically. So that's nice. It gives you more options. I like that. I'm not sure if there's enough room at the side here for a 120mm radiator, like custom loop radiator. AIO would fit there no problem because they're basically the same size as the fan. But when you have a case like this, no point with the a 120 AIO. You might as well get a 240. You can fit that at the top. Although I'm kind of questioning what's going on back here. If it wants to open, there we go. These run very tight. Okay, now I'm trying to wonder what's going on here with the ventilation, because there's nothing back here. Quite literally nothing back here that's going to need to be ventilated at all. So back here we have all of our front panel connections and everything else that we need. So we have all of your LEDs, like your HD audio, power LED button, reset button. Although for some reason you only have, no, never mind. Reset switch, power switch. There's no. Is there 2 reset switches? Oh, there must be. Yeah, because the other reset switch is going to this. This is the same, basically the exact same control panel for the fans as I got on the Moonstone. It even has the same mounting option. Velcro, oh god. Come here. Please, leave.
Hello, cat.
She's not happy. She wants to be the centre of attention all the time. Yeah, so 2 reset switches, which is nice because some cases only include 1 and you have to choose between one thing or the other. Though actually I think you need this one here because otherwise the fans don't spin. It's really annoying. We have HD audio and our USB 2, USB 3. And I had a Molex in my hand, there it is. This is to power the unit here. All the cables are black, I like that. Just because it makes the build look a lot nicer. Now we have room for 2 3.5 or 2.5 inch drives. There you go. This case is going to be used for a build with a 1070 and i5, and we're going to have 2 1TB drives in here. Hello again. You have a case of your own. The cat sleeps in my GameMax Moonstone. Yeah, so two 1TB or hard drives, 1 400 gig SSD, and your twist right here. I swear to God.
It's gas now, that is.
Fucking lever there.
Put the Captain thumbnail. There you are. Views. Written all over it.
Here's a kitten for scale.
Exactly. I have to have some reason to put it. Hey! Hey!
Way!
How are we getting on?
Right, so we have a remote control, which already has lost my interest.
Yeah, the cat's much more interesting.
Why are you trying to slap me? I don't bother with the remote controls in these because it's really childish to me. So, and then with that we have a couple of, if you mind, we have a couple of cable ties and all the screws we're going to need to build the system. Now I forgot to mention as well, there's this cover, excuse me, there's this cover on the PCIe slot. There's this cover of the PCIe slots that I hate that. Why can't you just make it so that that's not there? Otherwise it's really annoying and I do not agree. So that's really it for back, for under here. There's I don't even know what happened.
She was walking on the keyboard. You just heard it.
I'd laugh if put in my password right as well. Can you imagine that? Would be brilliant. But if when I'm trying to do something that she fucking starts acting, go follow the little stapler. Go on.
Go on, you mad thing.
Right, so back here we have a nice amount of cable management room. I'm probably going to run cables up here mainly, just so I get as much room as possible, because there's probably a mil difference there, and then this isn't getting in the way. We have a pretty well sized CPU cutout, or CPU backplate cutout. You probably won't fit a backplate there, so you're going to have to do all that on the motherboard beforehand, but that's how you should do it in the first place. Don't do a verge on it. So that's really it for the back of the case. There's nothing major going on here. I tried to be. I tried to be professional.
Sound cat.
The system of these running in and out could be a lot better too. Those rubber kind of tracks always make it bounce, and it annoys me.